episode of the C-Suite Edge. I'm your host, John Light, president and founder of Sabretooth Recruiting. And today I have with me an attorney of counsel in the maritime space, which makes my heart joyful because I've always loved learning more about that space. Gary English, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for the opportunity, John. It's my pleasure.
Oh, happy to, because not only are you engaged in the maritime space from a legal perspective, but you're also a 20-year naval officer veteran. So thank you for that and for bringing perspective, because I'm sure there are plenty of people, let's just say in logistics and international transportation, who've never set foot on both a merchant vessel and a naval vessel, a ship made for war, you know, a destroyer or cruiser or anything else of that nature. So I find it intriguing, and I'm just excited to have you here. I know, Gary, that you work for a large international firm now, HFW. I was wondering if you could kind of give us a 90-second rundown on your history and what brought you there and what you do for them today.
Sure. You know, as you're saying, I was a surface warfare officer in the United States Navy for 20 years. And then I retired and for a second career decided to go to law school. And after that, figured my background to go into Admiralty and maritime law would be a natural good fit. So I went over and was in a small law firm for a few years. Then I went in-house with Maersk Line Limited, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Maersk Line AS, which is the world's largest shipping company. And did that for about 10 or so years. And now I've moved over back into the private practice sector with Holman, Fenwick, and Willan. And we're international, worldwide. We have 21 offices around the world, 700 plus attorneys, and anything and everything to do with the shipping industry we're involved in.
Man, I mean, that's a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, right? In terms of just a whole bunch going on. Can we boil it down, though, from the perspective of, you know, what's, for your practice, what you do, what's the biggest problem you guys address and solve for your clients?
I think one of the big things, sir, especially is regulatory issues with between the United States government, Homeland Security, Coast Guard, EPA, all those type of entities, and also on an international scale with the international maritime organizations, international labor organizations, and how to help them, not to use too much nautical terms, but navigate those waters and be able to stay compliant and be able to keep a profitable bottom line. That's one of the things we do.
Well, that's a huge piece of it, though. I mean, I come originally from an accounting background, and you know, many accountants go through public accounting as auditors, and you're trying to provide reasonable assurance that things are getting done right, that companies are in compliance. You might have to provide audited financials to adhere to debt covenants to make sure compliance in that regard. There's a lot of different areas, and I know it's so much more complicated because you guys not only have environmental, but you have the health and safety aspect. You have, I'm sure the tariff challenges that are going on worldwide right now has an impact on what you do every day. So I don't envy that, and it's a horribly complicated space, but also terribly necessary. And so I'm curious to know, when you engage in this, I mean, I don't think many people in the U.S. really understand the whole maritime transportation business and all that's involved in it. You know, I have some insight from having worked in the oil and gas space and dealing with companies that do exploration and production offshore. But even that's not the same as sending a vessel from here to India, for example, that, yeah, you've got all this open international water, but you've got customs and regulations here and then something similar over there. You know, when you look at that, I would imagine most companies probably don't have the in-house staff to navigate that, as you put it, in a way that's efficient and effective. How do you get in front of that for your clients so that things are smooth and efficient?
So I think the big thing there is really to get to know your clients, and really it's about a relationship, so you understand what their needs are, so we can go back and then tailor a program to meet your needs and to make things run more efficiently and effective and cost effectively. Obviously the bottom line is the major driver here, and I like to say that if your attorney is not a net positive to the bottom line, you need to get another attorney. Plain and simple.
That's a great perspective. And so get to know your clients, huge issue. You got to do that, and it takes time. But if your attorney's not a net positive to your company, to your bottom line, then you need a new attorney. But I would imagine in the Admiralty and Maritime space, there's not a whole lot of you guys running around.
It is a niche market, but so like Maersk they do $80 billion a year, and that's one. They're the largest, and so you can go down to MSC and CMA, CMG, and down the line. So it's a huge industry, and that when you go to groceries, if you go to most any store, about 80% of everything sitting on a shelf spent some time on the water, somewhere, somehow, either on a ship and cargo, or a barge, something like that. So, the maritime industry is connected to every single field.
Yeah. I don't think people understand, too. I know from the oil and gas business that even though I know people coming through school are often told oil is fungible, when in fact it's not. You have varying grades of crude with more sulfur in it, longer molecules. Some of it's really nasty, and some of it is light and sweet, just like the description for it. But at the end, they have to go to refineries that are tooled for that particular grade. And it's interesting to me because we might produce something here and then have to ship it halfway across the country by a pipeline or rail or barge, or we might have to ship it around from the Gulf up to the Northeast or whatever direction. But for years, a lot of the refining done on the Texas Gulf Coast was that heavy, nasty sulfuric crude coming up from Venezuela.
Right.
And you had refineries right there tooled for that. So they couldn't intake this light, sweet stuff coming over from possibly Saudi or maybe the Brent from the North Sea. And I just don't know that most people as consumers recognize the fact that almost everything you buy at some point has been on the water.
Sure.
In one shape, matter, or form. And they sure don't recognize the hurdles you have to go through just to get a ship to the dock. To get it to the pier, to offload it, and all the challenges that go around that. And so I'm curious to know, since you're at a global firm and you have this massive worldwide footprint, what are the hardest places in the world to do business from a maritime Admiralty perspective to get product from point A to point B?
The hardest? That's an interesting question. Not exactly sure. The west coast of Africa can be a hard spot. China can be a hard spot, mostly because of just the congestion and the backup there. I mean, Shanghai, you can be sitting there anchoring for several weeks, and then you're not really making money. So, and that's kind of where we try to fit in. We try to be a problem solver for you. That, I like, the other thing I like to refer to myself as is a plumber, right? I go in and fix things, and you have a problem. I'm going in there to fix that leak and figure out what can we do to solve your problem and get you back to operating in the most effective and efficient manner that you can.
Yeah, and that's music to a lot of these companies' ears if you think about a ship just sitting and not offloading and not being in motion, because you got to be in motion to make money.
Yep.
In the industry. And when I was thinking hardest, I was just thinking the culmination of expense and time and just challenge of getting in and out. And I know sometimes there are congestion issues, but sometimes it's regulatory issues, right? And environmental, and who a country will actually allow to come in and dock or come into their waters. I'm really curious, and I know this is coming completely out of left field, so don't shoot the messenger on it.
Okay.
I'm really curious about what's been going on relative to the Panama Canal transits.
Right.
Because when we talk about, if you go into a grocery store, pretty much 80% of what you see in there has been on the water at some point in the supply chain. We often don't think about the cost that is layered in there, which can be substantial or not, right? But one of the ways we keep costs down with this international transport is we go through the Panama Canal.
Right.
But I know there's a lot of back and forth between China and Panama and the U.S. What's going on with that? And are we going to see our cost impacted to the bad because of the way things are going there with the canal?
I wouldn't think anything price-wise would be affected to the bad side. I think that it could actually be a good thing at the end of the day, that it's more easier to get through and efficiently. I've been through the Panama Canal several times, and it has its challenges with pilotage and then picking people up. So I think I think the other thing is we're probably looking for is consistency. And I think that's what business really looks for, is consistency. They want to be something that's predictable and reliable, and that they can budget on and plan for and help their expenses. So I think anything we can do that regard is a positive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, businesses do what they do because they need to make money. And they need to make money so they can pay for their costs, they can pay their people, they can contribute to society however they choose to do it. So I think anytime you can help smooth that out and still keep it above board, so to speak, I think that's a net positive for everybody. And terribly interesting industry segment, however you want to put it, from my opinion, because most people just don't realize how much the space you play in really impacts their day-to-day life. I am sure, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we don't fly pineapples from Hawaii to the United States. I'm pretty sure they end up in a cargo hold somewhere or a container and they get shipped over.
Yeah, they would go into a refrigerator container, which is, that's really where shipping companies make their money, is in container or refrigerated cargo, because it's more expensive, and it requires a lot of monitoring and people input and make sure things are going properly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing for something coming out of Central America or the Yucatan Peninsula. It's just going to get put on a vessel and shipped up and delivered to a port. So I think it's fascinating, Gary, and I really appreciate you taking the time to visit for a few minutes. Okay. I would probably really enjoy just sitting down and having a cup of coffee or some wings or something and just picking your brain endlessly. You'd probably get really tired of me. So I'm just really grateful you spent a little bit of time. And let me ask you this, too. If someone has a question or wants to learn more, maybe they want to dive deeper with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Well, probably the easiest and fastest is my email. And it's pretty cryptic. It's my first name, Gary, Gary, .English, just like the language, at hfw.com. So Gary.English at hfw.com. And then my direct dial, I'll just read it here, make sure I get it right, would be a +1 area code 281-305-5106. So that's +1 281-305-5106. And I'm happy to have conversations, and you can pick my brain, and we'll see what if I can help you a little bit. I'm happy to do it. And then if you want to come back and sign up as a client or whatever, happy to do that too. But this is something I'm passionate about. I love what I do, And so I try to always make myself available, and I'm happy to talk about, just about anything and everything.
Be careful with that, because
Yes.
sometimes you get everything you ask for.
Yes, I
Somebody
know.
asks for everything.
But I mean, let's just at least in the Admiralty maritime world. How about that?
Well, I may end up taking you up on that, frankly, because I think it's fascinating, and I'm grateful for you joining us, Gary. Thanks so much, man. We'll have to do it again somewhere down the road.
All right, thank you, sir.